And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we're going to be doing a quick recap of all of the NBA games that went down last night. But before I do that recap, I want to sort of acknowledge Carrito in the comments. Carrito MVP 11, he started commenting like a few minutes ago, and he has one more comment saying that he modeled his game after Klay Thompson and Kyle Korver. As a 5'10" guy, it's hard to play basketball with taller players, and that's sort of like what I was getting at when I was like talking about like how Allen Iverson and Curry, like I wasn't really able to get to that as much as I wanted to, but he does make a valid point saying that it is difficult for like shorter players to go up against taller players, and it's like Iverson and Curry, they've sort of like changed that notion and be like, yes, you can bring value to the team despite being a bad defender and despite being relatively short. And there's two ways you could go about it. One way is with your shot creating and ball handling, Allen Iverson, and then the other way is with your shooting, hence, Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, because with Steph Curry and his shooting, yes, Steph Curry does handle the ball at times, but there are also several times where Steph Curry runs around screens and tries to create open looks for him off the ball where he can catch and shoot and get himself into like very good positions to score. And that's sort of like part of Steph Curry's game and Klay Thompson's game that have revolutionized like the game of basketball, where it's like, sure, like maybe the guard is a little bit short, but he's a lot faster, and because he's faster, he can get open, like running around screens and then shooting directly off the catch. And it's right now in this league, it is a good shot, and that's sort of like how Steph Curry has, one of the ways that Steph Curry has sort of influenced a lot of these players and how he's changed the game. Now, obviously, like, it's Steph Curry, so any type of three he takes is considered to be a good shot. So maybe don't chuck up a bunch of threes coming off the screen if that's not a good shot for you. Now, he has more in the comments. I had build up muscle to be a good defender. Well, yeah, like obviously, like I'm not trying to question your defense, but being 5'10", going up against someone that's taller than you, I mean, chances are they're going to be able to back you down or just shoot directly over your head. And that's sort of like where the defensive liability sort of comes into play. Again, you could always make up for it by getting steals and like either playing through lanes or like, swiping the ball at certain times. But, being tall is definitely an impact on your defense. Like we see it in Victor Wembanyama, where it's like, since he's so tall and his frame is ridiculously tall, like he can block the 3-point shot. So, and he can obviously like contest a lot of shots, and it's very difficult for people to contest a lot of his shots. So we see how sort of height plays a very big factor in basketball, as well as on the defensive side of the ball. But it also could help you on the offensive side of the ball, given how if you're short, you probably move a lot faster. But that's just me. So let's go ahead and talk about all of the games, or most of the games that happened last night in the NBA, because a lot of the focus was mainly in college basketball. Like I didn't really watch a lot of the games because I was focused on college, and I really like watching college basketball in March a little bit more than I like watching NBA basketball, because it's more or less the same thing every single month with the NBA in terms of like basketball. It's like three-pointer after three-pointer after three-pointer. Not much defense being played, lazy defense being played, but in March, in college, whole different story. So let's go right ahead. Since we were talking about Victor Wembanyama, might as well go ahead and bring up the Spurs going up against the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Mavs ended up winning 113-107. Luka Doncic ended with another triple-double, 18 points, 16 assists, and 10 rebounds. He did not shoot very well from the field, however, going 6 for 27. 2 for 12 from 3. But obviously, a win is a win is a win, and the fact that they were able to win despite like this really bad shooting, it's very impressive. Coming in from the rest of the team, not so much from Luka, because he did get a triple-double and he was able to get a triple-double in this game, but still, like that was, his shooting was more so hurting the team than it was helping the team. Kyrie Irving ended the game with 28 points, 13 of 21 from the field, and 0 of 5 from 3. Again, not very good shooting from 3 coming in from Kyrie, but he's still a very good shot creator, and it's a nightmare going up against both of those two in terms of like guarding them in isolation and just guarding them in general, whether it's a pick and roll or it's an isolation. They can create a shot over anyone, and they are a nightmare matchup to go into the playoffs, especially in the playoffs, because Luka Doncic, he seems to elevate his game when the lights shine brighter than anything else, and it's very scary going up against that. Devin Booker would know. Now, on the Spurs side, Victor Wembanyama, he ended the game with 12 points, 11 rebounds. He did not shoot very well from the field, 3 of 13, so his offense was a little bit meh in this game, but his defense, he ended the game with 6 blocks. So, and he's basically the only bright side on the defense that this team has. And that's sort of what's hindering him from being the defensive player of the year, in my personal opinion, because Rudy Gobert, every single team that he's been on, it's been number 1 or number 2 defensively. That is no coincidence. And while Victor Wembanyama has the individual stats, Rudy Gobert is sort of bringing that impact to the team. And it's sort of like, where do you draw the line on individual stats overtaking impact that the team is getting? Because Rudy Gobert's defense and like the impact that it's bringing, it's giving them like free wins. It's allowing them to win a lot of these games because of their defense. And it's really difficult. Like for me, I can't pick who the who the defensive player of the year really is going to be this season, because I want to say it's Victor given his individual stats, but it's like I don't really think it can be Victor because the value that he's bringing to his team and how, the Spurs were the first team to get eliminated from the playoffs. It's like the defense isn't really bringing that much value to the team. And I just have no idea like which one to pick in terms of like I really have no idea which one to pick in terms of like who should win the defensive player of the year. But let me know what you guys think in the comments on who should win defensive player of the year. I want it to be Victor, but I really think it's going to be Rudy Gobert. That's just my personal take on it. And apart from Victor Wembanyama, there was also Trey Jones, but again, like I'm not a really big fan of the Spurs team because they just don't like Victor. They really don't. I mean, it's gotten a lot better, and he's gotten a lot more touches, but still, it's like I'm not a big fan of this team. I'm just not. Another team that I'm sadly not a fan of anymore is the Brooklyn Nets, because they just keep disappointing me. They just keep making me sad. It's every time they keep making me sad. They lost to the Pelicans 104-91. The Pelicans are a great team. I totally understand that. But Mikal Bridges, what happened to you? What happened to you? He shot 4 of 11 from the field, only 15 points. Not bad, but like he was supposed to be the face of the team. And it's like, what is going on? Like, why are these Nets playing so bad? And I really think it's because of like their coach, like the new coach that they got. It's messing with like the system. Again, this would be like Mikal Bridges' like third coach in the span of a few months, in the span of a year, excuse me. And it's like he fell off a cliff. He's not the star player that I really thought he was going to be. And Crafty PG, I guess he's a friend of Crucial PG. Wemby's a problem. Now, I don't know what he means by problem. I'm not entirely sure if he means like he's a problem in a good way or he's a problem in like he's hurting the team. But he also said that Pop knows what he's doing. Like, does he really though? Like, does he really know what he's doing? The last times, like when you really think about it, the teams that he's led to success, they've had players like Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard. They've all have had, like, they're all Hall of Famers. Like it or not, they're all Hall of Famers. And since they've been gone, the Spurs haven't been that winning team. So I think it's still up in the air. Like, I'm not trying to doubt, like, Pop and, like, what he's done in his career. But it's still up in the air if it's sort of, like, it was the players or if it was if it was his actual coaching. At least now with the modern NBA and how a lot of these teams have adapted to the three-pointer, because the Spurs were actually the first team that tried taking a lot of three-point shots and were very used the corner three a lot more than most of the other teams in the early 2000s going into the 2010s. So now that the rest of the league has sort of caught up, what is Pop going to do? But that's just my take. That's just up in the air. That's up for debate still because, Victor Wembanyama's only a rookie. So we'll have to see how this team, plays out and how, the rest of the players go about it. But it's still up in the air. I'm just gonna say that. Still up in the air on deciding whether or not Pop knows, what he's doing and whether he doesn't know what he's doing. Just throwing that out there. But more so on this Nets game, I might as well read the rest of the box scores. Zion ended this game with 28 points, 7 rebounds. CJ ended this game with 16 points. Brandon Ingram ended with 11. And Herbert Jones also ended with 11. Now, Zion has he's gotten a lot less talk around the media. I said this previously on my podcast, but again, it's he was one of the most hyped prospects going into this league, and with him not playing games and with Stephen A. sort of insulting his weight problems, I don't think he has any problems with his weight. I think they're over-exaggerated. But he's definitely fallen off just a little bit. It might be partly because of the Pelicans and their marketing, but I really, really want Zion to succeed. And he's not getting that coverage that I feel like he should be getting. Now talking more about the Nets, maybe we would be able to guard Zion if Ben Simmons actually decided to play a game. But no, he needs to sit out again. But I digress. Regardless, I don't want to even think about the Brooklyn Nets as a franchise. They've just disappointed me time in and time out. And it's really, really I've had it with the team. Next on this list is the Orlando Magic beating the Charlotte Hornets. Orlando Magic. And Paolo Banchero ended the game 13 points, 5 assists. Not a very strong scoring night for him. But again, he only played 26 minutes. Jalen Suggs, another player who he had a lot of hype coming from college, going into the NBA. He's hasn't really gotten that much talk. He ended the game with 16 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. Obviously, with the Orlando Magic and their media coverage, I don't know what is wrong with their media team. They have not gotten enough coverage that they need. And it's a little bit disrespectful, especially when, a lot of these players, they're playing very well. And this might relieve a lot of pressure from them going into the playoffs because they are a relatively young team. And with them being a young team, the pressure of the playoffs, it might get to them a lot quicker and a lot more than a lot of these veterans who have been in the playoffs several times. And when a lot of these young players don't have that pressure of people expect this from us, they have nothing left to lose, which makes them a much more dangerous team. And that's sort of what I think the reason why Boston constantly loses every single time, because they have all of this expectation from their fans and from the rest of the media that it just gets to them, and that pressure really builds up and it gets to them. And obviously as fans, we're sort of expected, we expect all of these players, especially Jason Tatum, to have that killer instinct and that Mamba mentality and that no pressure. Pressure's not a problem for any of these guys, but they're human like the rest of us. Pressure is eventually going to get to them. And it even got to Kobe in a lot of his playoff runs. Now, Kobe blew a 3-1 lead. A lot of people don't like bringing that up, but he did blow a 3-1 lead, and part of it was his fault. Kobe in 2004, he played in the finals against Detroit, and they ended up losing in that finals, and mainly because he did not play well, and the pressure got to him because he was taking a lot of shots, a lot of really bad shots. If you watch the series, Kobe was chucking, but regardless, going more into the box scores of this game. Brandon Miller ended the game with 21 points, 7 rebounds. He's been very good. Trey Mann, I just saw T-Man. 11 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. And Vasilije Micic, again, forgive me if I botched that name completely, ended the game with 20 points. Was really just scoring. He ended up getting 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 steal. Not really that impressive, but yes, he was shooting the ball really rather well in this game. Not enough to beat the Orlando Magic, however, so the Orlando Magic are going to be rolling all the way to the playoffs. Right now, they hold the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they look ready to go up against the New York Knicks. It's definitely going to be a conflict of interest because then when they win, I can say Orlando Magic, but then when they lose, I can't say that anymore, and I really like saying that. But on the other hand, the Knicks win. So it's going to be a conflict of interest. I really hope that the Magic end up making it to end up going into the 6th seed. I really feel like the 76ers are going to drop down a little bit more. And I want to see the Knicks match up against the Pacers. That's really who I want to see in the first round in that matchup, because I really hope that the Knicks see that matchup. And I would like seeing the Magic go up against the Cavs as well, because I think that would be a very good matchup between teams that are not very popular in terms of media coverage, unless they're on a ridiculous winning streak like Cleveland was. But I digress. So next game on this list is the Houston Rockets going up against the Wizards. Houston Rockets have been on a tear recently. They won 4 in a row, I believe, with Jalen Green ending the game with 42 points and 10 rebounds. Now, if you guys remember from the last episode, Crucial PG was in the chat, and he said, or he speculated, that one of the reasons for why Jalen Green was playing so good was because of his child. And that's exactly what Jalen Green said going into the post-game interview after he won that game. So shout out to Crucial PG for being absolutely spot on with that assumption. And again, 42 points, 10 rebounds. Maybe I was a little bit wrong about Jalen Green. Maybe he is a player that you could build your team around, and he could be the second option behind Sengun, or even the first option. I mean, with the way that he's playing, he's an absolute demon. He hit another turnaround jump shot like he knew that was going in. That is so cold. And again, he was going up against the Wizards, so it's not really that impressive because they are the Wizards, the worst team in the NBA. But still, turning around after shooting a 3-ball is it's you're that guy material, and it was really good to watch. It was really cool to watch. Amen Thompson, a rookie that I'm a pretty big fan of. 25 points and 10 rebounds. I think this was a great pickup for Houston, and he could be a very good third option, assuming they keep their core of players. Now, Dylan Brooks, 2 points. That's what he gets for being a trash talker. But regardless, this was a very dominant win coming in from Houston, and I really want to see them do this against a good team. Because if they can do this against a good team and keep this up, it could be a real problem going into the future. Because, again, I understand, Cleveland was a good team, but I want to see them do it against a really, really good team. But that's just me. It could have just been a game. It could have just been a good game coming in from them. But I digress. Now, before I wrap up this segment, we have another important game. The Timberwolves going up against the Denver Nuggets. I really should have talked about that game first, now that I think about it. The Nuggets almost ended up losing this game. Now, Jokic ended the game with 35 points and 16 rebounds, and they didn't have Rudy Gobert in the starting lineup for the Timberwolves. Not having Rudy Gobert and almost being able to, and losing by 3 points to the best team in the NBA now, that's not that bad. That's really not bad whatsoever. I don't think the Timberwolves should be upset at this loss. The Nuggets should be a little bit concerned about the fact that this game was really close. Michael Porter Jr., he ended the game with 26 points on 9 of 15 from the field. Jamal Murray ended the game with 18 points, 6 of 14. So, again, a pretty dominant performance from the rest of this. Jamal Murray also added 11 assists to go with that. Aaron Gordon, 14 points, 11 rebounds. Really dominant performance coming in from the Denver Nuggets. And the fact that the Timberwolves were still able to compete against them without having either Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert is very, very, very impressive. And this team might be a lot better than what I thought they were. And I had them as one of the teams that were potentially going one and done because I just don't trust the Timberwolves. But after this game, they could definitely put up a series against anybody, in my opinion. Anthony Edwards, great face for the Timberwolves. Definitely a great athlete. 30 points per game. Well, 30 points he had in this game. I don't know exactly if he's averaging 30 points per game. I'm going to see. No, 26.7. Really close to 30. But 30 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. Jaden McDaniels ended the game with 26 points. And one thing that was was actually really crazy was in the previous game that Anthony Edwards, he played against the Utah Jazz, he actually dislocated his finger after dunking the ball really hard. So he's a phenomenal athlete. But regardless, we're out of time for that third segment. So now I'm going to go ahead and go into the fourth segment where I go ahead and talk about how the president of basketball called out Joel Embiid and his decision for playing for Team USA. So I will be right back after this short break.